Good morning. Welcome to Patrice's Projects. Normally, on a sunny day like today, I'd be taking all my plants and putting them at sunny locations. But today, I'm going to keep my lights on and close my curtains because I need to do a lot of work in here. And I need to close the curtains in order for me to get anything done because it gets so hot in here. I am so disappointed. You've seen this before. This is the Praxx Cherry. Look. And I have to chop off its head and remove those flowers. Because it's gotten so... I have to water this thing like 2 or 3 times a day because it's only in this much soil. I purposely left it low so that I could keep planting it deep. And in order for these side branches to grow out, I need to cut the top off. What I want is like a round bush and then keep growing it indoors for as long as I can. But I think I'm going to cut it off right here. Remove this little side growth and this branch and most of the growth on it, and then clone it and give the clone to my sister because she likes to grow cherry tomatoes as well, and I've never given her a Praxx Cherry, so that would be a fun one. I've only grown this once before, successfully, sort of successfully, but I had started it a little bit late, and it had a really rough start. When the seedling came out like a curlicue. Anyway, let's get going with all of the work I need to do so this isn't like a 10-hour video. Changed my mind on leaving the lights on here, because one of the first things I need to do is lower this light back down. I had even moved the shelf up some so that my plants could grow up under it, but now that I've got the other light over here, I have the bigger plants over there, so I don't need this so high, and I need to start the seedlings. And what I have been doing is piling things up under the shorter plants so that they could get closer to the light. So I got these things that you can raise and lower your plants as needed. So it's got a little switch over here to release the cable so that you can lower it, and then it clicks back into place, and then it ratchets up like that and holds the thing. The problem is the way that this thing is attached, the cords on it, or the cables, I have it wrapped around here and then hooked up here. It's all one long piece. And this thing is really hard for me to deal with by myself anyway because it just barely fits in here, so it gets jammed when I move it around. So I have to move everything from underneath it and then lower it all the way down to the next shelf down. This really needs repotting. Look at it's going to fall over. It was meant to be repotted quite a while back at the same time as the tomato, and I don't know if you remember, I was saying I'm going to let it bloom, and it's just starting right now. Wow, that could use some water, huh? Look at that. Okay. Plus, it had some sun on it. Cucumbers and zucchini and squashes, curcubits, they, in the sun, when it's really warm, they will wilt their leaves down, giving less surface space for the sun to hit them. And that's kind of a protection thing so they don't burn. So that they bring all the moisture down into the roots and in the stem and the flowers, and then when it starts to cool off and the sun starts going down, then the leaves will come back out. So just because they begin to wilt doesn't always mean they need water. On the other hand, this is in a little cup. It probably needs water. And it didn't get that much direct sun. It got some lights, but not much sun. So go ahead and water that a little bit before I repot it. I don't want it soggy, but I also don't want it dry. Here, let's get that up there under that light. This, oh, never mind. We'll just stick to the topics at hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this down, and then I'll show you the options that I was looking at for hanging it. So here's what the end of the unit looks like, and there are lights where it connects up here, which would have been a little nicer in some ways, but because I don't have that much space. I think it's better to hang on the end so I can hook it to the shelves above it. What I was looking at doing is using a couple S-hooks and putting them on here and using this chain. And I have a lot of this chain. I was thinking about, just using it and then using the S-hooks to raise it up. But it is difficult for me because it's not even sitting all the way down. It's stuck right now. But I was going to cut this in half and use half of it with some hooks and use it like that. And I thought, oh, that would work well, but still I've got the issue of the S-hooks will slip out of there, and I was having that issue when I was putting this up initially. My S-hooks were the hooks were trying to come out of there, and when you're working by yourself, you don't want to drop something that's expensive. To me, this is very expensive. This was like $85, and that's a lot for me. So what I decided to do is I had used this wire, and this is for wire wrapping. It is a 20 gauge copper wire, and I had used this to hold the sink up in place while I, after I put the sealer on there. Now I have this wire left over, and I was thinking, oh, I could use some of that if it's long enough to hook across here and make a couple loops to put it in. But it wasn't quite long enough. I don't want to untwist it because this is already compromised here. Once you start twisting and stuff, then it hardens the wire, and when you straighten it, then it is brittle. So here's one scrap I'm going to use, and here is the roll. So I'm just going to wire wrap this wire right onto here, bring it up, make a little loop, twist it around, and I think I'm going to go with a very short height here, so I have the most adjustability as possible. I thought about making a cute little loop up here, but I'm just going to leave it straight. So this piece here, actually, I think is long enough to do both because I don't need it to go up very high. Let's just use it for one first and see what I end up with left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it and see how long it is, and that way I'll know if I have enough to do the second side or not. Oh, it's going through the hole. So we've got 20 inches. That's easy to remember. Almost 20. Yeah, I straightened it all the way out. It's 20 inches. So I like to use my scrap first. So I'll just bring it around here, give myself about an inch on the other side to give a nice twist to. Unfortunately, I can't do a really nice twist on here because I've got everything in my way. But that should hold it. And I've got, oh, that's where I was going to do something cute on it, but I don't need to. Go ahead and give it a little bit more of a twist, like that. Alright, and then I don't want it to go up very high, so figure right about there would be good. And I don't think I got 10 inches left, so let's measure. Ha! I have 10 inches if I cut it right there. I like to have nice straight wire as much as possible. Bring it through, give me an inch. Better when you wrap them together, not one around the other, but given this situation, I can't exactly spin the other one, so it is what it is. I'm going to tuck in that sharp tip. It doesn't want to be tucked in. Okay, that's good enough. That should hold her. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and we'll get it hung up. So I've gotten the other one put on there. Let's go ahead and, I don't know if taking the rubber band off is a good idea at this point. So it's got carabiner type hooks on the end. I don't know if there's another term for these, but I'll just go with carabiner, and I'm going to go ahead and hook it toward the middle area. I want it facing the other way, I think. Yeah, because the switch is here, and I want to be able to get to that. And go ahead and get it down here. Do the same on the other side. Over here, I guess I want my latch facing inward. Now, the issue is trying to get it to come up out of here since it's already jammed. Oh, there it goes. And if I can pull them at the same time, that would be optimal, so that it doesn't jam. I think that's probably about as high as I need to go. And look at all this cord. This is ridiculous. I can hang it like from the roof peak and still have it down here. No, maybe I probably could. I'm going to go ahead and wrap these things back up. Now I'm going to go ahead and get all the other stuff done. Oh, look at that. I have it almost level. Let's see, I need to go up a touch, just a little over here. Maybe one click. One click. That looks pretty good. I think that's probably about as good as I'm going to get. It doesn't need to be level for any reason other than my own entertainment. With the light, I forgot to tell you what it is, and I'll put a link for it down in the description down below in case you want to get one. It's a really nice light. It's got 4 bulbs and it's got 2 controls, so you can have either all 4 bulbs on or the 2 inners or the 2 outers going at the same time. It did come with additional hardware. What I did is I untied that knot so you can see just how long this piece is that was supposed to hang onto the ends. And then it came with this thing to adjust it. So it goes into the end of this little barrel type thing. Get them all nice and even. Anyway, I'm not going to make them even right now because I don't need to. And it has, oh, there it is, a small bolt that goes in the end to hold that in place. And this was attached to it when I first got it. But it is so incredibly long, well, I could not use it. So it's like more than 2 feet long. Well, you can adjust it by pulling on this little cord down here, which is already beginning to fray, by pulling on it, and make it shorter. It still wasn't going to be short enough for me to hang on there. Not to mention, how do you make it go back down? You can't just pull it back down. The only way of doing it is by unscrewing this top piece here. Oh. to release it, oh, there went a little ball bearing. Fell right out. So release that. There's a little spring in there. But then, there goes that ball bearing again. You can adjust it back down. You can pull it back through. That is not feasible for me, and all the little ball bearings are beginning to fall out now. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. Let's get transplanting. It also came with these brackets and some screws, so you can hang the brackets from the ceiling or the wall or something. And then you have this little hole there to hook the hook into. So that's where its little S-hooks go, is on here somehow. That would be difficult at best. And then you hook the other part onto the cable. So that is the whole kit. But my suggestion is to get those other types of hangers. And if you have enough space, you can use this part of it and attach that right to it. But with my unit, I don't have enough space. So that's everything it comes with. So this is the pot that I'm going to put it in, because it's not real deep, but it is fatter. I want the roots to stay at the bottom, so when I do transplant it into the garden later, when it gets too hot in this room to continue to grow it, I'll be able to transplant it as low as possible where it originally started. It started out in a cup smaller than this one. It was one of those little motel cups and very skinny, and I just had a couple inches of soil in there. So it's already been repotted once, and I put the soil a little bit higher up on the stem. Look at the size of the stem too. It's just incredible. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of soil into this. I've already got its potting mix. I think I put some coir in here and also some worm castings. And it looks a little drier than I would prefer, but I'm going to go ahead and water it in. It's got a little moisture, not as much as I would prefer. And what I'm going to do, so that it sits all the way at the bottom, is move this plant out of your way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to shove all this soil up against the sides like that right before I put it in. And that way it's sitting right on the bottom of the pot. And then it'll be a little easier to get the soil in because it's already around the sides. Preferably you only want like 4 main stems coming out. I'm going to let this one grow. There's a leaf a little further down. I don't see anything happening there. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want that. That's too short. So I'm going to go 5, 6, and then cut it right here. Not to mention, this has already begun to start its side branching. Unfortunately, that looked pretty brutal, didn't it? This has even better branching. Look at that sucker right there. And that's what I want to promote, is the suckers. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off all this lower stuff that will eventually end up in soil anyway. So I'm cutting off that leaf. I cut off everything basically until I get up toward the top. I'm going to go ahead and leave that sucker on though and just trim it back because it's already grown out that much. So let's just get some of the bigger leaves off of that sucker as well. And cut this off. This is the main growing tip right here. The reason I'm cutting all of that off, maybe one more, and that's got a sucker starting too. And I see more flowers sitting right there. So I'll pinch that off. I think I see more flowers. I'll have to wait until it opens up more to get that. So I'm going to put it in the water like that. I'm going to cut that off, or pinch it off. So this sucker I should remove, but I'm not going to because it's grown out so much already. And I'm just going to pop it in water. And all the furry stuff on the stem can potentially become roots. So I should have shown you that. You see how furry the stem is on there, the fuzz coming off. That can all potentially become roots. So this water might be a little deep. I'll probably pour a little bit of that off. No, I can pour it right into the soil down here. That looks better. So once this begins to get some roots about an inch long, I'm going to go ahead and put it in soil. And it will be a clone of the mother. Look at this. This is half my plant right here. Look at that. And I'll just compost all this. There's no reason to try to grow anything from it. I might be able to, but we don't need more than 2, my sister and I. So that looks pretty good to me, other than I'm going to cut off that lowest stem down there once I pull it out of this cup. So we are ready to pop it in. Get all that soil pushed aside. And I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the cup a little bit to loosen it up. I'm sure it's root bound. Like I said, I've been watering this all the time. So let's see how badly it looks. It's stuck. I have to pull it. Ooh, that's pretty bad. You think I left it in too long? I'm going to go ahead and rip through some of this because it doesn't have its top, so it doesn't need all these roots. I'm going to go ahead and just open it up so that the roots can spread out. I'm digging my fingers into the bottom. I'm just kind of opening it up pretty good. I'm going to kind of rip through right over here on the side where it was really bad. Okay, I think that will do. Get some of that soil pushed aside again. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in around it after I'll cut off this lowest little guy. This still has its seed leaves. I'm going to cut those off. It doesn't need them. And I've been watering these with a very weak, I guess it's called a man-made fertilizer. I'm trying to grab it right now. This Schultz all-purpose plant food. And I've been doing it not quite half strength, but close to half strength. On the stronger side, not the weaker. And it's just been doing phenomenal with the plants. So let's go ahead. I think I am going to cut off this last bottom one here, or pinch it off. Because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to bush out with. And then I'm going to bring the soil all the way up to the bottom of this. You can't even see it in there, huh? Up to the bottom of this leaf right here. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm just tamping it down, not real hard, because you want the roots to be able to expand. But once you water it, the soil goes down. If you don't tamp it down, you end up with less soil than you thought. That looks good. Okay, see, the soil is still pretty far down there. So once this gets its side shoot going, its sucker, and it starts to grow out pretty well, I'll cut this leaf off here and then put more soil up on the bottom of the sucker, because that will also sprout roots. I'm giving it a really nice thorough watering, and it's got the catch tray on the bottom so that it doesn't spill over. That feels pretty good. Maybe even a touch more since I just transplanted it. Or up-potted it, however you want to say it. It's not going to fit there, but it will fit under that light, so we can go there for right now. And this is going to go in an area where it doesn't get direct sunlight, like right under you. Now on with cucumber. This is one of the little waste baskets, and it has a little dome cover with a little thing that you push. It's supposed to spin around. That I had gotten at the 99-cent store. And what I'm going to do, even though I probably don't need to, is I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes in the bottom. I also got a couple of 8-inch trays that fit it pretty well. That's not a bad fit. So I washed these really good with hot water and dish soap. So hopefully it's safe enough. I'm going to go ahead and put like 6 holes. Not very big holes, because this is the drill bit that was in here, and it's plenty big. That should do it. Okay, and I've got my soil down here. What I'm going to do, because my soil is a bit too dry, is I'm going to go ahead and put it here in my, some of it, here in my Halloween bowl, and give it a good moistening. So, right there. There should be enough of that amount to get it to where I want it right now. And just go ahead and use my hand. You want it kind of like dry brownie mix. Not dry, but crumbly. Oh, kind of like crumble for the top of your like apple crisp and things like that, kind of like that. But you want it to kind of hold together when you squeeze it together, but easily break back apart. So that looks pretty good. A little more moist than I had intended, but that just means I don't water it as much after I put the plant in. And I don't think I have enough. Let's go ahead and put another scoop in there, which will dry it out more, which is good with me. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed up, and then I'm going to fill this most of the way with the soil. I'll show you how much I put in. Okay, I filled it up to here, but there's a big hole in the middle, and that's where the plant is going to go. And what I'm going to do, I actually ended up having to put just a little bit more in that bowl than I had, what you saw. Let's see how deep that's going to be. That's a little, I need it deeper. And with the cucumber, it has a furry stem as well, and probably would grow some more roots, but typically they're planted at the same level as what they were in the container that they are being transplanted or repotted from. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze it. Loosen it up, and then I'm going to turn that baby over and see if it'll pop out. Same condition as the tomato. So, oh, it smells, the roots of this smell like cucumber. Every part of this plant smells like cucumber. This one's a Space Master cucumber. I think I may have gotten the seeds from M.I. Gardener a couple years ago. But I wanted something that was going to be a little more compact for in here, because cucumbers can, once they start growing, they vine and they get really long, and normally you trellis them. Unless you have a very large space, then you can let them grow across the ground, and that's perfectly fine too. Cucumbers can lay on the ground and grow perfectly fine that way. I've seen it online many times. I don't have the space to do that. Okay, so I put it in the pot, and it's a little more than 1 inch down from the top edge of this, which that's where I wanted it. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it in the rest of the way with the soil that's down here in the container. It's just easier for me to do it this way. Sorry, it's not on camera. And I'm going to try and make sure I keep this thing centered. That feels like I might be there. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm going to pack it down just a little bit. You know, like as Ray from Praxx 55712 channel says, you pack it in, but don't push harder than you would on your eyelid comfortably. So I think that's about it right there. So it's as easy as that, and now the hard part is trying to figure out where to put it. I think I have, you know, the place I'm going to put it, but I'm going to put it over there and we'll see. I'm glad that this has finally fallen over so I know which direction it's going to go before putting it on the shelf. With this basil, and I got these seeds from Ray's Seed Giveaway, which he does every January, so if I post this in January, he's still, as long as you get your envelope to him by the 31st of January, you can get some free seeds. He's got some really nice varieties. He's got Butter Crunch lettuce, he's got Roma tomatoes, and a few other things I can't remember right now that he's giving away this year. And all you need to do is send him a self-addressed stamped envelope. Anyway, when I use these pots that I get, you know, with plants, the holes are so big that I like to take a piece of paper towel and cram it in there to cover the holes, because otherwise the soil falls through until it gets all compacted and my roots are holding it all in place. So, and this will eventually decompose and just become part of the soil, but until then it's going to hold the soil in place. And with this, I am just simply going to put some soil in there, drop the plants in, and then before I leave the garden room today, I'm going to do a little trimming on this particular plant because I want it to start bushing out. Actually, there's 3 in here. I should have probably kept it down to 2, but you know those ones you see in the grocery stores? There's like 4 in there, something like that. And they get them growing and, you know, growing pretty good. So I'm just going to drop it in there up to the level that it is in this pot and then fill it in. I may have too much soil in here to start with. Nah, I can do this. I'm a professional. Not. So not. So this is just so that I can have some fresh basil until I get it going outside somewhere. This will probably end up outside. This will be my basil for this year. I don't need that many plants, and I dry it after the plants get nice and big, and I'm trimming on them quite a bit. I like actually using dried herbs a little better. I'm trying to loosen the roots a little so that they can come out into the soil. These look fine. They're going to come out nice and healthy. If this were only one plant, this would have been the perfect time to repot it. Well, that's going to go all the way to the top, but that's fine. And I'm just going to put some soil in there, water it in, and like I said before, I leave the garden room, I'm going to cut the tops off. I'll probably cut this tall one a couple segments down just so it has 1, 2, 3 spots where it can branch out. The little guy, 1, 2, 3, and same over here. So I'm just going to cut the very tops off so I can use those in my food maybe tonight or dry the leaves. I don't know yet. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting soil in this pot, and that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that now. And then click the bell button so you get notifications of my upcoming videos. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.